Right, just as we had a special session on the ATS, there's this another special session, which of course, as you know, Zavre sir will be speaking on. And now we'll be talking on the impact on corporate reporting under India AS and the Ind AS taxonomy. Before that, before he starts with his presentation, I would request Yoshiaki Wada to please come up on the stage and hand over a flower bouquet to Zavre sir.
Mr. John Turner, my colleague chartered accountants, the bankers, researchers, and all the participants. It is a pleasure and pride for me as a chairman of the Ind AS IFRS Implementation Committee to present before you the impact of corporate reporting under the IFRS Converged Ind AS standards. My dear friends, Ind AS era has already started. As you are aware, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, India had a notification, and accordingly, at least few corporates have already started voluntarily the accounts under the Ind AS for accounts commencing on or after 1st April 2015. However, the mandatory phase number 1 will begin from 1st April 2016, and therefore it is necessary for all of us to understand the impact of corporate reporting, the financial reporting, and let's see the pros and cons as far as these Ind AS standards are concerned. Everybody is aware that India has not adopted IFRS as it is. We have converged, though basic principle remains the same. Taking into consideration the local laws and regulations, taking into consideration the prevailing practices, accounting practices, the regulators' suggestions, my dear friends, India has converged the IFRS. What do you mean by this convergence process? In the process of converge, there are some deletions, there are some additions, there are few alterations, there are change in titles of the statement. And therefore, we are talking about the IFRS converged Ind AS. Why we call it Ind AS? Because we already have a series of accounting standards which has been notified for the corporates in the year 2006. And we are talking about the new notification wherever the Ind AS standards will be applicable of the rules 2015. Adopting the IFRS converged Ind AS, that is certainly going to benefit the Indian economy, because we will be the part of the world economy. And for that purpose, we have taken a policy decision that with minor changes, IFRS standards will be not adopted, but will be converged. There are primarily 4 advantages. Number 1, there is a boost to the capital market. And we are sitting in the building of the BSC. Number 2, increased investors' confidence, which is very important because there are many foreign institutional as well as individual investors who has invested in Indian corporates, and naturally to understand the financial performance, there must be common accounting standards. So to boost up the confidence. Third is growth of the industry. M vitamin, that is money, is very important, and therefore the Indian corporates are raising the funds through international sources of finance, and for that purpose, naturally, there is bound to be a growth in Indian industries. And very important, my dear professional colleagues, we'll have more mobility with reference to our professional assignments. I'm not talking only with reference to India's, even with reference to Xbrl. So primarily the capital market, investors' confidence, industry growth, and the mobility to the accounting professional. Let's deal one by one. When we are talking about boost to the capital market, why? This convergence with IFRS, International Financial Reporting Standards, certainly will benefit the economy because of increase in growth in international business. It will also facilitate the maintenance of orderly and efficient capital markets and will help to increase the capital formation and thereby the economic growth. Just for the information of audience, Bombay Stock SEBI has already permitted corporates to submit the IFRS-based financial statements. That is very important. That is the first step they have already taken. This will encourage the international investing and thereby investors even, and thereby leading to the more capital flow into the market. So certainly economy is bound to boost. Investors' confidence is very important. My dear friends, right now, the financial statements are prepared based on Indian GAAP, existing accounting standards. When your stocks are listed on stock exchange, say New York, you have to convert those financial statements under the US GAAP. Say if it is on Luxembourg Stock Exchange, you have to converge under the IFRS or European GAAP. This will be avoided. So naturally the information under IFRS-based Indian accounting standards or Ind AS, it will be more relevant, reliable, timely, comparable, very, very important, comparability across the jurisdictions as opposed to the financial statements prepared using different national accounting standards. Can I just say the example? Mercedes-Benz accounts were prepared under the German GAAP, which has reflected profit. On conversion into US GAAP, it reflected the loss. Why? The retirement benefit of employees were not provided under the German GAAP. And under the US GAAP, it was mandatory to make provision for employee benefits. So this is important. Therefore, in order to improve the transparency and in order to improve the reliability and comparability, it is necessary for us to go along with the international flow. Convergence with IFRS contributes to the investor's understanding, common understanding, and confidence in high quality financial statements. So quality. Indian industry is bound to grow. Why? Capital will flow in India, make in India. And that will be at lower cost. That is very important. And naturally, when it will be lower cost, there will be boost to the Indian industries. The accounting standards as followed now are different in principle. Our existing accounting standards are rule-based accounting standards, and the IFRS Converged standards are principle-based standards. And therefore, this diversion will go. enterprises which operate in different countries, they face multitude of accounting requirements prevailing in the countries. This process will be simplified while preparing individual or separate financial statements of the corporate alone, as well as the group financial statements or consolidated financial statements, and thereby it is bound to reduce the cost of preparing financial statements too. For my professional colleagues, the advantage of increase in mobility of the accounting professionals. Just for the information of audience, in UAE, about 10,000 chartered accountants, Indian chartered accountants are working. We'll have more mobility. And that will benefit to the accounting professionals as experts in the different parts of the world. The thrust of the movement towards convergence has come mainly from accountants in public practice. It will offer more opportunities in any part of the world if same accounting practices or the common accounting practices prevail throughout the world. They are able to quote IFRS to clients to give them backing for recommendation certain way of reporting. Understanding will be better. And for accounting professionals in industry or in practice, the mobility to work in different part of the world will certainly increase on introduction of India's or IFRS converged accounting standards. Now it is very important for us to understand what is the impact. Impact can be considered into two parts, the short term and the long term. Please keep in mind when I say short term impact, in the sense you have to convert your financial statements on the opening balance sheet date from the existing accounting standard to Ind AS. There is bound to be a difference to switch over. And that is, I will call as short term, which is adjusted against accumulated profits or accumulated reserves. However, because of the change in principles, there is bound to be a difference annually too. I may quote 2-3 examples and then I'll go to the impact proper. I was also in industry looking after the finance for a number of years. Our company had undertaken a new project. And looking into the cash flow, the rate of interest was finalized at that time was 13% in consortium finance by all India financial institutions. However, looking into the cash flow, projected cash flow, we requested them to charge lesser rate of interest in the initial years, starting from 9%, then go to 10%, go to 11%, and go to 14% naturally, because agreed rate of interest was 13% per annum. My dear friends, even as a chief accountant, because at that time post of CFO was not there, in the first year I recorded 9% interest only, then 10%, and so on up to 15%. Now it was not true and fair. Under IFRS based Ind AS, now you have to provide in the books of accounts effective rate of interest. Now effective rate of interest is not 9% the first year. Effective rate of interest is 13%, whether you are paying 9% or whether you are paying 15%. So naturally the quality of financial statements is bound to increase. So let's see the impact. There is a change in classification of assets and liabilities. As compared to the existing accounting standards, for example, under the existing standards, the classification of financial statements, such as preference shares and debentures. In India, a corporate can issue only redeemable preference shares. There are no irredeemable preference shares. And whenever we are talking about redeemable preference shares, under the existing gap, we treat as equity. And debentures we treat as a part of the debt. However, under the Ind AS, the classification is the basis for features of the instrument. What is the feature of the instrument, preference shares? It is redeemable. You have to redeem. So it's a debt. It is not equity. So under the Ind AS, redeemable preference share capital is not treated as equity, but treated as debt. And convertible debentures, which will be convertible into shares after some time, those will be treated as part of equity. So my dear friends, debt, equity and debt has become debt and equity. And therefore there is bound to be impact on debt equity ratio. There is bound to be impact on debt service coverage ratio and other financial analysis. This may impact the funding strategy of the companies, as the financial ratios are bound to affect substantially. We have the norm of debt equity ratio as 2:1 is bound to change, and therefore the new norms probably are also required to be determined. Presentation of economic reality of the business. Ind AS, you are aware, primarily the IFRS are based on two principles. One is the fair value and number two, time value of money. So under the Ind AS, fair valuation approach will be used, and that will also change the assets and liabilities at fair value with reference to accounting standards of the financial instruments, accounting standards on share-based payments, accounting standards on business combination. And so far in India, there is no standard on agriculture. The new standard on accounting standard on agriculture, Ind AS 41. This will certainly help to arrive at true and fair view of the financial position as well as performance of the corporate or of the entity. My dear friends, through Ind AS, there are improved disclosures, more information to the investors, more information, reliable information and qualitative information to the probable investors. And therefore, the Ind AS financial statements will be more transparent. Naturally, taking into consideration this existing standard and the Ind AS, and we are in National Xbrl conference, the Ind AS standards need taxonomy. Once the Ind AS will be applicable, separate Xbrl taxonomy needs to be prepared in order to enable the corporates to file their financial statement in this extensive business reporting language format, which will be developed by Registrar of Companies in pursuance of Companies Act or company law. Since there are substantial changes in the accounting framework, it has been decided that separate taxonomy will be used, not the existing taxonomy, for the purpose of Ind AS compliance companies. And now in Xbrl India, in order to develop this Ind AS taxonomy, an invitation to expression of interest has been floated for the development of Xbrl taxonomy on the basis of Ind AS. Even we have received the responses on EOI from the vendors. And my dear friends, we are in the process of floating the request for proposals to selected vendors is going on, and it will be floated soon. This is just a development of taxonomy. What is the scope of India's taxonomy? It has been decided to develop the taxonomy for commercial and industrial companies on the basis of following. One, notified Ind AS. Number two, requirement of law with reference to Companies Act. And number three, very important, common practice elements for the companies who will be required to file the financial statements with reference to Ind AS roadmap after adopting this Ind AS. Broadly, there would be new extended link roles for number one, first time adoption. That's why I say the short term change. Number two, fair value measurement. This is a very important task. Number three, the standard on agriculture, which will be totally new. And fourth one, exploration and evaluation of mineral resources. These are the extended link areas. And there may be significant change in disclosures under consolidated financial statements, groups financial statements, financial instruments, and substantial change with reference to employee benefits, and this will be under extended link role. There will be some changes, some changes in new nomenclature. For example, segment reporting with reference to existing accounting standard 17 will be changed to operating segments. Change of amalgamation with reference to existing accounting standard 14 will go to the new standard of business combinations, which is wider. Tangible assets will be changed to the property, plant and equipment. Change of minority interest will be to no controlling interest, non-controlling interest. And therefore, in the Ind AS taxonomy, these changes will also be incorporated. My dear friends, after adoption of Ind AS, the bankers, while appraising the financial statement, while reviewing the financial statements, while reviewing the past performance, the entire ratio analysis is bound to change. The debt service coverage ratio will change. Why? Preference dividend so far was treated as appropriation of profits or post-tax profit. When it will be classified now as debt, preference dividend, and even tax on dividend on preference shares will be deducted while arriving at earnings per share. So all the principles of IFRS will be taken into consideration. Financial norms will change, financial appraisal will change, and this is exactly the impact on impact after adopting the Ind AS. This is just glimpses, my dear friends, and with this I have just given you the information of the impact, but if you have a specific question, you can certainly ask for. I'll sit there.
Thank you, sir. Any questions?
Please, here I am.
Yes? Yeah.
It was a good overview or a gist of the things that are emerging. But one important thing and a missing link in the whole scheme of things is the institute is already in the job of Ind AS pronouncements as also this Ind AS taxonomy. But the missing link is where ultimately it has to be consumed and digested by the commercial banks. For example, they are only to deal with only select ratios like current ratio, everything is normative based. 1:2, 1:1.33. These are the kind of ratios because margin will come from 25% from the long-term sources. with everything undergoing change, I do not know, you should be in a position to sit with Reserve Bank of India and Indian Banks Association so that this work is also taken up simultaneously by the commercial banks. I do not know, I'm not satisfied with the progress that has been made by the commercial banks. They are not perhaps attuned to this emerging development. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I do agree with you. And as a member of the Accounting Standards Board, as well as chairman of this India's Implementation Committee of ICAI, I was always thinking, and I raised this issue before the board also, that in the roadmap, banks and NBFCs, they will join the league at a later stage, not immediately. And therefore, bankers will understand in depth little later. Therefore, I raised the issue, why not the banks and NBFC also join at the earliest stage. However, the regulator, the Reserve Bank of India, has decided to postpone it. But I do agree, the current ratio of 2:1 is undergoing a change. Sir, whatever the current assets we're classifying under the existing standard may be non-current assets. And therefore, the current and non-current assets classification is bound to change the 1.33 or 2 ratio, and therefore that's what I said, we have to arrive at new norms for the purpose of financial appraisal, whether you are taking a overdraft facility or cash credit facility or the term loan facility. Certainly, and sir, this is also a matter of research, little bit going into the more depth, and for that purpose, bankers must be trained for the purpose of Ind AS. Like insurance company has not yet joined, but my committee is taking a program with ERDA at Hyderabad to train all the officials of ERDA, Insurance Regulatory Authority.
ERDA. Any other questions? So I think that's a valid point. Not only banking or insurance. I think most of our clients in a practicing scenario, we've come across clients. In fact, asset management companies.
Absolutely.
They have been raising voice against. How do we implement, say, particular examples of what you say in IFRS, Ind AS is this, but we cannot do this. So I think the need of the hour is industry specific accounting standards. That is what And I'm sure even you have
Absolutely
thoughts
right.
about that.
And asset management company, when we are bringing the concept of the fair value,
Fair value, right.
entirely it is going to change.
It's gonna change.
We have to adopt the change. We have to understand it. We have to learn, set the new standards, and make the ball rolling. I think that is only the thing. We have to go ahead. But Ind AS or IFRS based Ind AS is inevitable for the Indian growth and Indian economy.
True. A Central Council member and the chairman of Ind AS Implementation Committee of the ICI. So it's indeed a privilege to hear from you.
Thank you.
Every time that we hear you, it looks like we are in an accounting class. A coach, no better than a coach to teach us about Ind AS and everything. Because everything that you say, you support it with examples, you quote real experiences, and then it makes so sense. It becomes so simple that yes, what he's saying is okay. This is how it is gonna impact us, or the way it should be looked at. Thank you once again. Please have a huge round of applause for SB Zavre. I would invite John Turner to please come up on the stage and give over a memento as a token of appreciation. सुबह से Xbrl, टुडे टुमारो, अब Ind AS भी आ गया, माय गुडनेस, और क्या क्या है. ब्रेक चाहिए? सुनाई नहीं आ रहा यार, क्या हो गया, सो गए? बोलो जोर से. चलो एक कुछ मज़ा करते हैं. यहाँ पर एक लॉटरी सिस्टम चल रही थी, आइडिया है किसी को कुछ? ध्यान है क्या? हेलो, ध्यान है? चलो लॉटरी निकालते हैं, देखते हैं किसकी किस्मत में वो पीली घड़ी लिखी है. ठीक है? ओके. सो वी gonna request to please bring those lucky draw coupons. So who's the lucky one? The shining yellow watch.
Sunil Rohra. Congratulations. Sunil. For the smart management, you are getting a gift. Good.
Congratulations, Sunil. You are the one, the lucky one. So this lucky draw, this watch is courtesy Spenta Multimedia Private Limited. Those who didn't do it missed a big opportunity. Right. All right, thank you guys. We'll break for tea and we'll get back soon on another session of Xbrl today versus tomorrow. I'm into practice. I'm a practicing chartered accountant and your host for the day, as we call the master of ceremonies. So yes, thank you. Thank you for even asking me that. Yes, I feel good. So, so again, welcome you all on this Xbrl today versus tomorrow. And so just a small recap again, as we do always after every break. So we started with the big weights, talking about the brains and everything Xbrl. John giving us insights as to what is his vision about Xbrl in India. Then Kirit Bhai giving his hinting that he is absolutely in support so that we can bring Xbrl and bring the all the magic, all the potential of Xbrl to the fullest in India. Then we've got the road ahead. Then we've also heard from the actual guys who are working on at the root level on the Xbrl. So the experiences we have heard. Now what's left? So after everything, there is something left as to understand if this is what we thought and we have achieved that, now what next? So this next, the new possibilities that awaits Xbrl. We've got a speaker right from Japan, right? Mr. Yoshiaki Wada. He's the chairman Xbrl Asia. One thing that I've seen, he's been here right from the morning. His session was there, but his passion, his interest, his commitment towards Xbrl is immense. I mean, he's been here, right here in the morning, hearing every session out. And I'm sure when he will speak, he'll have a lot to share. So Mr. Wada, he's joined the Bank of Japan in 1882 and had worked for Statistics and Economic Research Department, IT Systems Department, Secretariat for Policy Board, Financial System and Bank Supervision Department. In 2010, he joined NTT Data System Technologies Inc. and currently works for the development of new financial technologies, including Xbrl in the section of Open Innovation and Business Incubation of NTT Data. He was a member of the Board of Directors of Xbrl International and has been the chair for the Xbrl Asia Roundtable. Please put your hands together for Mr. Wada. I would request Punendu Kumar to please come up on stage. You have to please sacrifice your tea. Thank you. To please present Mr. Wada with a bouquet of flowers. Thank you. So over to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for your kind introduction. Okay. Just introduce. I used to be working for the Central Bank of Japan, and then suddenly, but not so suddenly, I changed the direction of my life because of Xbrl. Okay. Xbrl has a very good power to change the social system, but also has the power to change the life. Okay. Today, I'd like to talk about something new about Xbrl and actually happening in Japan. So let me tell you a little bit ironical story first. Recently, there's a big corporate scandal was reported in Japan. One is the case of improper accounting process in newly merged overseas subsidiary that was suddenly observed, discovered. And that had a big shock to the market. And another one is even bigger than this. Improper accounting process in a company which was believed as one of the best blue chip in Japan. The name of the company is starting at the initial T, okay, the big company. But these are not the first case in the history, okay, in Japan. And also, these two companies are recognized as one of the best disclosing company in the Japanese market. Their financial statement was accepted by Japanese government, validated, and mathematically 100% right. But the data was 100% cheated. Okay? If there is intentional manipulation is happening in the balance sheet or financial statement, even Xbrl is difficult to detect it. So what we can do for that? Okay? So how to make approach to the real face of the company? Okay? It is very important to focus on the cross relation between business environment and the financial information and non-financial information. Okay? Let me tell you. Here is business environment. That is obvious to everybody, okay? You can know the market is good or not, or business environment of each company is good or not. You know that, okay? And financial information is coming out, okay? Even though it is true or not, this is the outcome of the business. And the market have to take this as an information for decision-making of investment. And here is another factor, non-financial information. So the important part is this cross-section, okay? Here. If financial information, which is not consistent with environment, business environment, maybe description about the business condition and process could imply some artificial or unnatural context. Okay. And this artificial context must be evaluated by investors themselves. But computer technology can contribute for the better way to support this evaluation process. The reason why I came up to this idea was, after having that scandal, okay, I had some interview with Japanese major investors. And how about your fund? Did you have any loss in that company T? And they said, no. Why not? Because that is the blue chip, right? And very famous company. They said, okay, oh, because there's some say business description was a little bit unnatural. So they felt something strange with the result of that business. So they stopped investing into that company. So they didn't have any loss on that. So that gave me the idea how to use the combination of financial and non-financial information. Okay. So let me tell you something about the new possibility of Xbrl with non-financial information. Okay. Xbrl was originally developed as a technology for financial report. Okay. However, reflecting a new demand by investors and society, new initiatives for report other than financial report has been emerging. For example, CSR report, maybe you know, ESG reporting, corporate actions, IIRC initiative, GRI, and CDP. Those are all called non-financial reporting. Okay? Why non-financial information is important? Corporation has two aspects. One is visible from investors. Another one is invisible from investors, such like this. Front side, hidden side. Front side indicates current situation of the corporation, and the hidden side often relates to the future of that corporation. These hidden risks, which affect not only the current profitability, but also future performance of the company, which have become the attract of investors' attention since the financial crisis. Okay. For investors, okay, prime concern is the corporate value change along the timeline. Okay. Let's see the model. Okay. Here's the timeline. And the small company started to big currently. You are here as an investor. You would like to know the future of this company, upturn, stagnation, or downturn. And financial information tells the past, or the changes, or the history, or the experience of that company to now. Okay? But the future event which will affect this company's value is not fully described in the financial statement. Non-financial information provides clue to foresee these future events. This is the some say example of the positive event. Okay, success of IPO, MA, and then success of long-term R&D, and improved financial balance or big profit or something. On the other hand, there's a negative event, plant accident, environmental disruption, or corporate crime, or security incident. Okay? Those are now happening quite often in the society. Okay? And ESG reporting, okay, became attract of the investors, okay, because ESG report has the mission to tell some clues to detect or to make a forecast of these factors. So what is the difference between capable company and incapable company against unexpected events? There is no company which is free from unexpected event or change of business climate. Okay? So what will divide survivor and loser? I think this one factor is awareness of risks. And the second one is readiness for change in business climate. And so-called ESG report gives us the clue to evaluate these factors or these abilities. Okay. I am working in the IT society. When I joined my entity group's CEO meeting, I was surprised to listen to the message from our current CEO. In 10 years' time, or say 7 years' time, we don't know what will happen to our company. Our company is now big enough, okay, in the 6th position or 7th position in the IT world. But even we do not know what will happen to us. So what is ESG report? E is environment, S is social, G is governance. And E is the corporate attitude to cope with environmental issues. S is the corporate attitude to cope with social issues. G is the corporate attitude to cope with governance issues. Okay? Let's see the example of ESG. Environment. Okay? Does the company try to reduce CO2? Does the company try to reduce energy consumption, or protect rainforest? This questionnaire is quite common to CDP report, right? What about social? Does the company try to create gender equal society? Does the company try to avoid conflict minerals? The company try to step away from antisocial force. Okay. Have you ever heard the word conflict minerals? Anyone know conflict mineral? You know, you must know. One example of the conflict mineral is the gold or platinum coming from the war area. Okay? Those are produced under the pressure of the criminal power or terrorism. Okay? Not produced in the right way. And international companies are prohibited to use those platinum or gold. Okay? The governance. Does the company subject to external audit? Does the company assign outside directors? Does the company define the code of conduct? Those are the example of the G, the governance. Okay. So let's have a look at some example of the non-financial information. Okay. This is the governance chart of company A, the company B. Okay. Okay. Quite similar. Which company do you choose? Please tell me, please raise your hand if the people who support A. A? No? B? B? You don't know? Okay, thank you. There is no theoretical background of this one. Okay, but say, please tell me why. Okay, you choose the B. Someone. Yes. 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 Customer. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. There is no theoretical background, but you can see the customer first or not. Okay. This is typical case in the Japanese, say, financial statement. Okay. You can see the difference between the companies. Okay. And the second one is more theoretical. This is the audit chart of company A. This is company B. Which company do you rely on? Yes. If the auditor is located under CEO, their opinion can be controlled by CEO and never reach to board of directors. Okay. I used to be working as the bank supervisor in the BOJ. So when we have the on-site examination, the first document we check is this kind of governance chart. Okay. If the auditor is under the control of CEO, we have some sort of their prediction, something wrong is happening. Okay. So this is just a case, okay? Very simple example of the non-financial information. So why Xbrl is useful as a format for non-financial information? Okay. Let's see the difference between financial report and non-financial report. There are two types of reports, okay? Financial report and non-financial report. And financial report contains many of numeric information and less information in non-numeric style. And this is easy to be digitally analyzed, okay? Just like Xbrl reporting, right? Like financial report, business report, and so on. What about non-financial information? Major part of the information is recorded non-numeric information style, difficult to be digitized. Okay? However, okay, there is some weak point of non-financial report. Chapter style is not necessarily standardized. unfriendly long sentence for readers sometimes, okay? Difficult to be compared with other companies or past data. Difficult to specify search area for text mining analytics. Okay. However, if we have predefined and standardized reporting style, it becomes possible to process as digitized data. That is the basic starting point of using Xbrl. How to make Xbrl report for non-financial reporting. This is the original report, okay? Let's assume, chapter A, B, C, D, E, F, the governance report 2014. And if we convert the data to Xbrl, setting taxonomy for chapter and chapter or element to element, okay, then we can compare the same data to the other company to chapter, okay? Or even for the same company, we can compare the same chapter from time to time. Then we can know the change of the message or change of the tone of the CEO message or acknowledgement of the business condition of that company, okay? Now, let me give you some case of the trial project of environmental report. Okay. The project background. Okay. So, as I told you, there is an increase of the demand of the ESG information, and this is the actual amount of ESG-based investment in the region. Okay. Japan is very small. This is the ratio of ESG-based investment. Roughly speaking, in Europe, almost half of the total investment is depending on ESG information. And Japan is almost nothing. Okay. A little bit shocking for me, okay, as a good citizen of Japan, okay? Because we believe that the Japanese company is nicely investing, and the Japanese investors are making a good decision for investment, but not. Reality was not. Their main concern was on profitability or short-term profitability of the company, different from ESG. So that was the background of the project. So enhancement of ESG reporting, okay, is an urgent matter in Japan, and Ministry of Environment in Japan decided to make a modern style of ESG reporting format, especially environmental report with Xbrl. Before joining NTT Data, I have been a member of the Ministry of Environment working group how to use the Xbrl for ESG reporting. And now I'm working as a project leader for this one. Okay. So this is a kind of my lifetime mark. Okay. Currently, we have the 3 years POC, and Japanese fiscal year is ending at the end of March, so still we are in the fiscal 2015. And now, many of the environmental report is already submitted to the database system. And soon, analysts will come to analyze or have a look at those reports, okay? So what is the problem of non-financial report, okay? For financial information, we have reporting standard and the reporting platform. For non-financial information, we have reporting standards, such like environmental report guide or something. But there's no reporting platform at all. So there is always some sort of missing information here. And the target of this project is to create reporting format and the reporting manner, okay, reporting exercise or something, okay. And this is the chart of the project workflow, okay. from left to right. Okay. Environmental data is harmonized with the CDP report and automatically converted into Xbrl and available in the data warehouse. And we have some feedback system, okay? Because the company is always interested in how their report was recognized or any kind of feedback from investors, okay? So that's why we prepared some sort of communication infrastructure and connecting between investors and companies. Okay? That's the basic idea. So the data is inputted into template and converted into both PDF and XBRL and stored in the system. Okay. This is the list of the analytics side or fund. Okay. There are so many famous companies. Okay, like have you ever heard Amundi? Okay, European, the biggest investment fund, and also BlackRock, also fund the professional investment group. Okay, they are already involved, and also CDP and GRI and IIRC is also supporting this project. And besides this, on the filing side, we have more than 250 companies from Japan, including Honda, Nissan, and Japan Steel or something. So major companies are all now participating in this project as a filers. Okay? So this is the collaboration of the industry, okay? Reporting side and the analytics side. This is the current situation of the Japanese information supply chain. Here is the business sector and the BOJ, FSA, audit corporation, the stock market, and so on. Okay. Between bank and the Bank of Japan, we have already created XBRL reporting system. From companies to stock market, TDNet is operated by Tokyo Stock Exchange. That is a kind of the corporate action disclosure system. EDINET system is operated by Financial Service Agency of Japan. That is financial disclosure system. And the e-tax system is the electronically tax filing system operated by National Tax Agency. And here is Zaimon system that connects business sector and the financial sector. Once the report, tax report, is sent to the tax office, the company can reuse that accepted data for business loan assessment. So they can send that data back to banks. Okay? And also, here we have environmental report project, okay, that is still in the POC. And recently, we have a new one here, corporate governance report that is already XBRL, released by Tokyo Stock Exchange. So there are so many XBRL-based data sources in Japan. So next target is how to use these data. Okay. XBRL is an excellent technology as a report, but when we try to use the fully, okay, the data, still we have some technical issues. Okay. And but basically, the most difficult part of the XBRL is the first step, how to report the data in XBRL. Okay. So that's the end of my presentation. And I hope today you have such a huge amount of new information. And I hope today's session will become a new start of the XBRL in India. And please open the new horizon of XBRL to your society. Okay. Thank you so much. If they have any question or comment, yes. Okay.
I just, can we please have the mic?
Sir, thank you very much for the new dimension you have added to me. Really, it is this kind of thing I was not exposed to in the past. Second, you are talking about the environment only with the added a dimension, leaving the S and G port of it as a subsequent add-on to that. As far as the environmental issue is concerned, in India we are also very much obsessed with this, particularly the coal mine, the forest clearance, then the coastal regulation, these kind of things. So, as I was listening to you, my mind, if you take in the case of Japan, you are having more of manufacturing but not mineral-based companies as such, to my understanding. Mineral-based companies, that is mining it from the ground, your requirements for environmental commitment should be much more as compared to IT companies, say, working in Bangalore. And do you have this kind of stratified approach towards collection of data? For example, banks do not have that much of, environmental commitment, need not have, because they are not deriving much from the Mother Earth or these kind of things. So do you have for manufacturing operations separately? If it is a chemical industry, zero liquid discharge should be the focus for them, like a environmental, pollution control. So do you have this kind of stratified approach in your environmental analysis of companies? This is what I wanted to know. And I once again thank you. It was an excellent presentation.
Thank you very much for your kind comment. Okay. As for the regulation or the pollution control of the industry, okay, not only manufacturing but also the mineral industry and so on, we have. And but the effectiveness of the rule keeping should be observed, okay, in some way by the investors. Okay. Even that company is paying huge attention to the pollution control, but it is difficult to disclose the reality to the public. And this kind of information, so ESG reporting, make it possible. And also, it makes it possible to compare the attitude of one company to the other companies. Okay? And also, we can know the change of the attitude or the policy. Okay? One example, when we have the last year report, okay, there was a very impressive report from Japanese wooden, yes, the one company. They are supplying the wood, right? So for the house making. Okay. They said when they are going out, okay, to the other country and open the new forest or new industry, they will check the treatment of the people who were living there before the government invite them. Okay, that is the human rights of the previous, say, the people who are living there. Okay, these kind of attitudes are very important, but it is difficult to be disclosed and acknowledged by the society. And this kind of ESG reporting hope to make it possible. Okay, thank you very much. Your comment.
Any other questions? Yes. For GST?
Yes. Taxonomy is, adopted. Still, this project is in the POC phase. And this is open to the, the project is open. So, a little bit, of course, unfortunately, this year, the project has already closed. But next year, we'll have the second one. Okay.
Please speak on.
Taxonomy.
Taxonomy, yes. So if you enter into the system, you can see the taxonomy.
Anyone else?